Welcome back. We're here with Drew. It is 2021.
Holy shit, it is.
It is. It's ridiculous. 2021's already been insane.
Dude, it's already, you said it a little earlier, it's already halfway through January.
Right? It's nuts.
Oh, time flies when you're in the middle of chaos.
Of chaos. It's everywhere.
It feels like these days.
Yeah, it feels like straight up chaos. I look at the news and everything's just straight. Insurrection this, insurrection that. Impeachments. We gotta make sure they can never be presidents ever again.
Dude, I hand up, we should go back to kings.
Agreed.
I'll take a king. Just shut the fuck up.
Just give me if we're gonna go to socialism, give me my money. You know? That's all I'm saying.
Too.
Like, if we're gonna do that, hey Nancy, fuck the impeachment. Give me $2,000.
Well, apparently that's that's on Biden's campaign.
Yeah, he's talking about
that's
doing
like his first move when he's inauguration's what, the 25th?
The 20th.
20th?
Yeah, and so
shows up. I pay attention.
21st, he's gonna put in a bill, and then some Republican female is gonna put in for on the 21st as well the impeachment of Joe Biden.
Classic.
So, yeah, right.
Just throw it right back at him.
It's so
did
fucking
that to
ridiculous.
Obama, did that to Trump, doing that to Biden.
They do it to everybody.
I think that people fail to sometimes see the long term on these kind of things, which is like, yo, it's a cycle. You know, these heated times that feel like very tense and stuff. And albeit there was some crazy shit that went down this year. Like, it was certainly above the normal threshold. But that sort of like political unrest and uneasiness, it happens every time. But there's 4 years between it each time, and we forget.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
at
least
then
me,
20
my
years
dumb
down the
brain,
road,
every time is just like, oh my god, what is happening? Everything is.
The only people that remember are the ones that are like the ultra religious or the ultra unreligious.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The ones that are the ones that are so unreligious that's their religion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
and
they're basically the same people. They just believe different things.
Exactly.
And
they believe it to a degree that they feel like they need to try to convince everybody else.
Yeah,
and that's when it's sort of a problem.
It's a problem. Yeah, it's a big problem
because
once you feel that
freedom,
you have to teach
you got all
other
the freedom
people
in the world to believe those things, to love those things,
but
to
you don't
practice
have the
those
right
things.
to force them upon others.
Right, and I just think it's sort of common decency to understand, and that's what I think it is a lack of understanding at that extreme level of like, these are still beliefs, okay?
Yeah.
These are not concrete 100% facts, but through the lens of you being so far on that spectrum, it's unquestionable fact, and that's why it's a problem. That's why it's so hard to mix those two ideologies, whatever they are, with just the people that are kind of in the middle, that are like observing almost.
That's it. You said it right, nailed it. Like, the word unquestionable. Like, you can't even question.
Right. And that's like, I don't care who you are. If that's how you're approaching an argument or a conversation, it's like, oh, this is pointless.
No point,
because nothing I could ever say will get you to even question it. You know,
or
I'm talking to a brick wall, and this brick wall is spewing their beliefs and forcefully trying to get me to
they won't listen.
Like, I'm good. You know,
even have like the debate in a good manner, to where they're actually listening to what you're saying. They're just thinking about what they're going to say and how you're wrong. Like, the only other thought in their head is, you're wrong, I'm right, this is how.
And they're waiting for their turn to speak to tell you how wrong you are. Or the best ones are when it's like complete non sequitur to just a whole nother thing, and they're like, well, but this, and it's like, dude, okay, like, what is
you just jumped 40,000 light years.
First of all, we didn't even finish this thing we were trying to talk about.
Yeah.
Second of all, like,
and because you have no argument, you jump to a whole nother thing that
and
you
I
feel
don't
you
even
have
know
a
if
better
they
argument
know that
in.
they have no argument. It's almost just like they don't have any mechanism except project these things outward on other people.
Yeah,
like they can't receive anything else because
I've never really thought about it.
They're
like
so
that.
like deep onto that side. They're leaning so hard onto that side of the spectrum that like it's just, like I said before, unquestionable to them.
Yeah.
So it's like and I've dealt with plenty of people like this, especially, and I'm sure you have too, coming from a
highly
pretty
religious family,
heavily religious background. And so there's a certain point when you just have to like kind of just walk away from that. And that's what I think is so frustrating and like off-putting to me about talking about politics with people.
Yeah.
And just really caring about it in general is because there's plenty of information in there. There's plenty of facts. There's plenty of stuff to ingest and understand about our political system.
Yeah.
However, that, to my ears, is completely drowned out by people screaming at the other side.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's like, I just, it's so like mind-numbing to me because, like I said, okay, have you ever had your mind changed by someone screaming anything at you on the internet?
Not once.
Have you ever even seen it happen in a conversation, in a thread, where people are fucking yelling at each other and cursing at each other and calling each other idiots, and then the other person's like, oh yeah, you know what? Those are some good points. You're right. Boom. Like, that literally never happens.
I've only seen something close to that, and it only close because I think me and this lady got a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And it was my misunderstanding, but it was to something that was written in a comment previous, and like I guess my phone delayed because my comment ends up at the end of this thread, and I thought there were only 3 comments on there. And by the time the person replies to me, it's like 50 comments down. And they had already explained out like their entire point of view by then. And I misinterpreted what they were saying in that initial comment. And they just made a statement about like the coronavirus being the flu. And I said, well, it's not. It's SARS-2. But it's kind of funny how most of the flu season and shit has just disappeared. And what she was saying, it sounded like she was saying that like COVID is a really big deal and wait until you have someone who passes from it. And I was like, yeah, but that's the same as the flu. Like, how are you going to feel?
You could apply that argument with anything.
Yeah, driving a car. Exactly. Anybody that's close to you that dies, you're going to feel bad. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the case of it be. And COVID's not going anywhere, so people need to stop living in fear. And to her point, she was like, I don't know what I said that made you think that I am living in fear, but I'm not. And I was like, well, my biggest point was the fact of it being SARS-2, so you're not spreading bad information out there, that it's not the flu. And the flu season's kind of disappeared weirdly now that COVID's this thing, and we have 3 different strains now. Did you hear the new one that just got popped up in the U.S.?
No,
it's completely
it doesn't surprise me, though.
Separate from the UK strain. It's another Chinese strain, and it's 3 times as infectious as...
Oh, go ahead.
It just 3 times as infectious.
And that's the OG coronavirus. Yeah. Man, you remember Corona 1, man? That shit was shit was crazy.
That's what I don't understand is, like, I understand that it's there, and now we got medicines quicker than we ever have for anything ever in history.
Just shotgunned it.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that means that we
props
can
to
do
the people that
did that. Like, that's some
insane.
Scientific fucking magistry. Like, you guys are magic people. You did something that people thought was impossible. You did it. That's great. I may not take it. I also don't take the flu thing. I rather build natural immunity.
And obviously, there's still time that needs to go by before really you can say that it was effective or not.
Yeah, 100%
We're still
effective.
In the spreading it out phase
of doing the doubling up, and instead of the bureaucracy of like testing trials and learning to get it to market, like figuring out how to make it to market, doing those 2 things at the same time, like that's gonna in the future just make things so much easier.
Well, yeah, and like businesses are learning during this pandemic. Like they're learning that I'm sure you've heard, and many people have heard before, but like everyone's learning that we don't really need an office building. Yeah, everyone can do this shit from home. Like
most shit you can just do from home.
It would have been worst case scenario, a year ago to be like, hey, everyone's at home sick today. Everyone's working from their computer. Like it would have been a nightmare trying to figure it all out. But now in the time that the Rona has been going around, there's been entire apps and companies developed and from the ground up that are sole purpose is to help businesses and large groups of people communicate together online. And like putting all their work in one place that's accessible, and being able to have sustained video conference calls that aren't cutting in and out, that aren't like
live shows
right.
and all that.
Oh, dude, it's taken off like crazy. So, and it goes to show you how we can adapt, like how humans and people and collectives of people can adapt and overcome anything. And like I see it from like a 1,000-mile up perspective of like almost like we are a virus in and of ourselves, in the sense that we're morphing, and like I just look at humans as like another member of the ecosystem of the planet.
Yeah,
and just like we're just another species that's doing what they can to survive. The reason that we can do it so successfully relative to other species is that we have, in my opinion, is that we have so many people working together for common goals.
Yeah.
Those being like keeping humans alive, building better buildings, finding out how to make things cheaper. Like those things collectively as a species help us survive more and more,
I agree. I think that we need to, economically, we have to try to figure some like balance out. Like I was looking at India today, like we have all these goods and they're charging $700 for an iPhone. But the people making it are making $7 a month.
Yeah. There's some crazy.
Like they just had a riot the other day and fucking destroyed one of the manufacturing buildings in India.
Well, you remember when the Apple employee jumped off the building?
Oh.
And like killed himself? And so Apple
that.
put up these big, at the factories in these other countries, they put up all these big nets because apparently it was like becoming an issue.
Yeah, that people are throwing themselves off.
It's terrible, but like how do you, I mean, I'm certainly no like economist by any means, but how do you fix that? Like, because I don't know if it's possible to just swoop in and say, hey everyone, from now on you make $25 an hour instead of making like 11 cents an hour. So, like how do you?
Well,
how is it possible? What's
the problem with this one specifically is when they start, they actually make 3 times as much, and then by the time that they're 3 years in, they make 50% less.
How does that work?
That's exactly why they're rioting.
That's like the reverse
of everything that's natural in life, right? Like so they're decreasing in pay as they go. And the thing is don't buy from those companies. It's so easy though to do. That's the problem, is like it's almost impossible to not get an Apple fucking product. Like half of the world is Apple shit.
Well, and they
but if you stopped buying their product, it would leave open room. But here's the problem. It's like what happened to Parler. It's gone. It's just gone. You cannot get on Parler at all anymore. Why?
I'm sure you can through like Tor and like
maybe they got taken completely off of Amazon's server, which is who was hosting them, and Amazon wiped them off of the server.
In that case, if they don't find another server, they're fucked.
They're pretty fucked. And they're blocked from the Apple Store, they're blocked from the Google Play Store, they're blocked from like all these things, and it's due to the fact that they're being blamed for the insurrection. Yet they don't have groups.
Yeah, well,
Facebook has groups, Instagram has groups,
and
Twitter has groups, and there's rapes, there's murders, all captured on Facebook Live on fucking like people in groups, like sending child porn, and someone posted on Facebook about how like Google people are sending child pornography through Google, and why can't they stop that, but they can take Parler off, and Facebook fucking fact-checked him and said that it's impossible for him to catch all child pornography. Well, yet they're supposed to catch all insurrection or one-sided opinion, which makes zero sense to me, personally.
The way I see it, too, is I say follow the money. And if you think about Parler being a lucrative, opportunity for, say, Amazon or one of these giant competitors of Google, of the Facebook umbrella, all these different large corporations, for the most part, I think it's been pretty well documented that they don't really give a shit about the ethics of things.
Oh, yeah.
So when they see, hey, we've got blood in the water here, we all have the chance to knock out this competitor by saying, yeah, we're not going to host their shit either. They all benefit financially, like
from
immediately
doing that, yeah.
from eliminating another competitor. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, they're all a conspiracy or something like that. Well,
I think it's just business.
Yeah, it's just business, man. They're all seeing the opportunity to make more money.
The issue is it's the first time in history that it's been publicly blatant that a company just completely, like, not just one company, but a pack of companies in somewhat the same business just annihilates the business in public view. You know what I'm saying?
But
like,
that's
sharks in the water style.
Right, but like that is a direct result of the fact that these companies are privately owned and they're free to choose to do business with anyone.
The weird thing
so that's when it gets blurry, because it's like ethically,
weird,
how do you say that I'm going to completely shut your shit down, but like at the same time,
it shows monopoly.
Yeah,
and that's illegal. So, I mean, you kind of stab yourself in the foot as a big corporation. I think that the internet's all
still too young. It's still in like the infancy phases where there's not a lot of legislation about this kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
And you can guarantee in the next few months, there's going to be a lot of things proposed that have to do with this.
Oh, Facebook in like, Denmark, Switzerland, and a few other places they have, they're being sued basically for, CARES Acts and shit like that, things that are like they're censoring their people. And I think Switzerland's like, you're going to pay 1.8 billion if you censor any one of our people.
Yeah.
Or you leave the country.
Well,
and you just aren't.
Exhibit A, why I don't. Yeah. I just don't I don't like Facebook at all, man. It's weird.
Me either. The thing I find funny is those platforms are private businesses, yet their whole business model is built on social
and public domain.
Yeah. So,
and that's why a lot of them are rolling out these privacy policies that say that anything that you submit, I mean, they're much more malicious than that, but anything that you post is like our property now. We have the rights to it. Like anything that you post on Instagram,
they own it. They own your fucking.
And in turn, anything you post to Facebook, I think. I want to say Twitch might be an umbrella of that company or under the Facebook umbrella.
But Facebook pretty much owns everything, and it's crazy.
Them in Alphabet.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's just, to me, it's crazy that you call yourself a social media platform, yet you use private company excuses in order to do things. Like, I don't see how those two things work. And then you also claim not to be a publisher if you're editing people's stuff, and so you're getting away with the 230 Act. But how did Parler not get away with it? They are being blamed directly as a company for the insurrection. And that's like Facebook being blamed for someone shooting someone else on live.
Yeah, and I don't know enough about it to really be specific, but I think that, I'm not sure. I just know that they are like all the companies that have basically like said that we're not going to host your shit, I think that eventually in the coming months or years even, we're going to see a lot of bills coming up about, how these companies can operate. Like, I think that they're going to have to define themselves. And 100%. If you fall under this, if you define yourself as a, quote, social media platform, then at that point you now have to follow these certain rules. And there's certain rules of, freedom of speech, different protections, different rules that they have to follow. So, I think that's what will happen. But right now, like I said, I think it's too new for those rules to really be in place.
Yeah.
So these companies are just taking advantage of it while they can.
Well, I mean,
knowing full and well that it's not, this kind of stuff is certainly going to be legislated soon.
Yeah. 2020, I think, is like the first real time all like Google, Facebook, Twitter all had to be in hearings. Like, I think 2020 was like the most hearings that all of them had to, and it was specific. Be more this year. Yeah, I agreed. And if not from America, I know that there is a bunch of other places around the world that are definitely suing Facebook and Twitter for censoring stuff in their countries. Uganda completely blocked them because they tried to throw an insurrection in Uganda, and the person in charge there fucking took them off. They're not allowed to have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of that there, because they were like, you tried to overthrow me. And he was like, I ain't having it. We'll just fucking cut you guys off. Which is crazy that, like, Because who knows? They might be the bad guy, might be the good guy. We don't know. I'm not in Uganda, so like I feel bad for the people that don't have any kind of power there, that are like fucking living in huts and shit, and maybe getting just in the middle of a fucking war that they didn't choose to fight, you know, or have to be in.
Yeah, that's what sucks. That's what I've always kind of pondered, because I've been a fan of like history and learning about, you know, ancient wars and World War I and II and stuff, and like I wonder, in a situation where we were like drafted or something, and where it was like we don't really have a choice.
Yeah, you're going.
I don't know. Like I appreciate America, you know, and I love my life, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that necessarily is hinging on the location that I live at. I would like to say that I would love my life sort of regardless,
wherever.
But I certainly can appreciate the freedoms that this country provides me.
Yeah.
That is to say that, like, I got really stoned and just forgot.
Yeah, I mean, like, to that point, people I know that have lived in other places, like, they've loved it. And a lot of people, the weird thing is, though, is, like, it's because they've lived there maybe 15 years, but they're an outsider to that culture still. Like, I had a friend from Palestine when I was young, like, during the Iraq War and everything when we were in high school, and he was here as a refugee. And he, as somebody who, like, lived there, lived in the culture and everything, he was terrified all the time. Terrified. Like, in America, he's like, this is the craziest fucking 180 from everything I know. I'm used to waking up and tanks rolling through my front yard. Like, now I don't have to worry about that here. It's insane. But then I know people that have lived in that same area that came from America, and they don't have the same experience because they don't live in, like, the slum area.
Yeah.
They don't live with a lot of
they probably live in a pretty safe.
Well,
because they can probably afford, you know.
Yeah, they also have the ability to go to the U.S. Embassy if something is an issue, which natural-born citizens of those countries don't have that ability. Like, they're just stuck. And so it's, no matter whether you live there or not, like, the outlook is going to be completely different from the people that actually live there. And that's what I ponder about a lot, is, like, how easy people have it here, that we forget about, like, what freedoms we actually have. Like, people want to control what people say and all that. Go to a country where you don't have the right to say what you want. And if you say the wrong thing, they just cut your tongue out your mouth. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. That's what they're going to do to you.
Or getting limbs lost for
stealing, or just the propriety of stealing. Someone just blamed you for stealing, and because you're the different guy, you're different. You're not from around here. They're going to teach you a fucking lesson and chop both your hands off.
Yeah, you see a lot of those, like, people traveling into countries from other countries and then getting in legal trouble, and, like, it almost never goes good.
Never, because
and even if they have, like, money, like, it's like
they're going to extort the shit out of it.
That country's government, and yeah, it's pretty hairy sometimes.
It gets real. Like, you just in here, if you do the peace sign in Iraq, that's like a death sentence. That's basically flipping somebody off in the most disrespectful way. Thumbs up, you can't do that shit in, like, Taiwan. It's not okay.
Yeah.
They'll fucking cut your hands off. That shit actually happens. People forget that. Like, that's a daily occurrence for most of the world. Like, we're only 300 million people here. 350 million people? That ain't shit out of 10 billion people or something.
Nope.
Fucking insane amount of people that are just living still in huts and fucking baking what they killed, like, on a daily basis. How many I wonder how many more people we'd have if there was all the counted, like, lost tribes, like all the people,
like all the quote undiscovered tribes.
Yeah, I wonder how many, like, people there are in that just alone.
Yeah, I've always wondered that too, because they say, like, there's large areas of the world that we've never explored,
just never gone through.
And dude, I've always wanted to, like, be an explorer. That shit sounds so cool. If I was rich enough to be able to fly, like, when I hear that, like, oh, we've never been to this part, no human has ever been to this chunk of this fucking forest or whatever, like, gas up the copter, man. We're flying out there. Let's go.
Straight up. Get the machete.
I want to go somewhere that no one's ever gone before. I think that that's one of the reasons that space is so, like, appealing to me. I've always been a big fan of space.
Huge.
And it's so fucking cool to me.
It
like,
scares me because, to me, it's up. Technically, it's down. It's
around,
everywhere.
It's everything but right here.
Yeah.
But right fucking here.
But just knowing that I have to go up in a rocket scares the shit. Just from
That's
heights,
yeah.
scares the
That's
shit
like
out
the
of me.
that's like the scariest part, because I just think of man-made things malfunctioning.
Yeah.
And a rocket exploding or something. And like, yeah, man, it's crazy. I wouldn't mind dying in space. I think I would. That's how, if I could choose how to go.
100%.
Shoot me, put me in a suit, give me, like, I want as many air tanks as I can get.
Yeah.
But just blast me, man. Shoot me off the
fast
thing.
as I can
want to just
possibly go.
launch out into the abyss. I want it to be so dark that I can look around and see the swirling galaxies and the millions of stars that you can't see when you're inside of our planet's atmosphere.
I want to see the whole thing.
Yeah, I want to see everything, man. And I want to just drift off and feel like I'm not even moving, and yet going
Just
like
mobbing through space.
150,000 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to do. And I
Fuck
want to
yeah.
eventually just run out of oxygen and, like, I don't know, hopefully maybe they could hook it up where I could maybe live stream it somehow.
So everybody can watch it.
Yeah, and I'll, like, be, like, full consent, like, hey, I'm gonna die, so heads up.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah,
like,
you aren't going to
tune
see
into
me
this.
dead,
Dude.
but you're going to see everything else as it goes, because it's going to be camera angle,
Yeah,
like
and,
front
and
head.
of course, I would never want to just do this voluntarily. But like,
No.
if I knew that I was gonna die,
You,
if I was
you
terminal,
got
had
3
some-
months to fucking live.
right,
For sure, you were going
Like,
to die in
man,
3 months.
Just
Shoot me to
blast
space.
me out there, man. Come
And
on.
I want to make sure I'm going fast enough that by the time, like, I want enough oxygen for that 3 months. Like, I want somehow the scientists to figure out, like, this is when your last breath is, and this is when you're supposed to die. Cool. But I also want to be going fast enough that I'm, like, out by the Oort cloud.
Dude.
By the time, like, I want to go by the planets. I want to start to freeze to death by the
you
time
will.
I'm getting out there. Yeah,
You
I want to
will.
be
And
like,
I think you'll freeze to death within.
by the time you're at, like,
It just depends. I mean, I'm not sure how long a spacesuit would, like, retain its heat. Maybe if it had a fueled system to
Yeah.
keep warm, like, you could go, you know, theoretically a pretty long ways. I'm not sure, but I know that they do spacewalks that are like 6-7 hours long. Like,
Yeah,
you're out
easily.
there, so it's not. I think if you're in the suit, you're pretty much safe from the temperature. But
think
I don't
it's
know
the-
how long that insulation will keep you warm. You know?
yeah, I think the cosmic radiation is going to be your biggest issue.
Yeah.
Because you don't have protection really from all that.
Yeah, and make no mistake, you're probably not going to last more than a handful of hours.
Yeah,
if you're getting shot
honestly.
anywhere, even if you prepare very well. But you know,
It would be so
what I
sick,
just thought
though.
would be so fucking cool, and maybe we can make, like, maybe this is like a movie, okay? But guy gets so rich that when he dies, he becomes terminal, and he knows this. He, like, okay, hypothetically, Elon Musk, he's got the money to do this 100%. So let's say Elon Musk finds out he's going to die. What he does is he figures out a way. Maybe he gets himself another rocket with a car on it, and he gets in the car, you know?
Yeah, so he's the new spaceman.
Basically, I want imagine him blasting off into space and saying, the key to all of my wealth is on, like, this drive or something, and it's on my spacesuit, and it's in, like, a super impact resistant, like, black box, basically. And I'm gonna get launched out to a planet, and someone's gonna have to like, if you want all this shit, come and get it. I'm gonna be on Venus or something like that.
That would be fucking
And
sick.
that would make, like, that amount of money at stake. I don't know if it would actually be financially worth it, because we're talking spending, like, billions of dollars to get to a
I
planet
mean, you
like
recoup
that.
some of it.
But, like, you could, like, imagine all the private companies that would, like, try to build some drone that could go recover this crypto key or whatever it is. Like,
Straight up, and just to find, like, the science that would come out of that
exactly,
would be insane.
it would force like
Progression.
progression exactly in the space sciences, and of course it'd be completely historic too. Like, even if it wasn't, like, all of a sudden priority number one for all these companies, like,
Yeah.
when
Just
that
the
was
thing.
found and brought back to Earth, like, that would be insane. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
it would be so...
I just think that'd be a fucking legendary way to go. You know what I mean?
Just the idea of, like, landing on another planet, even as, like, a corpse,
Yeah,
like, that would be...
dude.
its
I would
own
I would
fucking-
have, like, the most insane amount of like peace and exhilaration knowing that like I'll be the first human to land on this planet. I could give a shit that I'm dead. I'm going
still
to this
the
planet
first. Yeah.
that is essentially like almost mythical to me because I've never been able to see it. I've never been able to touch it. I've never been able to see it with my face, with my eyes. Like, it may as well not exist, you know?
That's pretty much, it might as well not exist.
But we know that it's there, and it's like this, you know, space to me is like this infinite impossibility almost, where no matter how far we develop, no matter how far we come, I think there will always be something that's just still too far away.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I mean, I watched a lot of stuff on space, and one of the to me, like, the greatest things I listen to that really catches my interest is what's beyond the visible universe, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we only know of the 13.5 or 14.5 billion years, which is in the stretch goes out to like 30-some billion years, right?
Yeah,
because
like
of the
years.
Expansion of space, and it's just getting bigger and bigger.
That's the problem.
And so, like, parts that we see now in the future are going to be at that barrier point where we can no longer see them.
Because it's all spreading out. You know?
And so we're going to lose galaxies that we can't see. We're going to, like, that we see now in 100 million years, they'll just be gone. And that's insane. And to think of, like, what was there that we aren't looking at now? Like, how much is there beyond that fucking point of visibility? Like, is it just infinitely forever? Does the universe expand to a point where it just contracts and does the whole same thing? Does it do that big bounce theory?
Yeah.
That shit is crazy to me. Or is it like it bursts these little bubbles of universes, and outside that universe, eventually ours meets up? And that's like, I saw this thing on the CMB where they see this giant spot on the CMB now, and they're thinking that it's another universe bubble that's bumping up with our universe, and it's causing this cold spot, which is sick to think. Like,
yeah.
And then all the Mandela effect things that people talk about, like, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why people are just now noticing that Berenstein Bears isn't Berenstain. It's just a lie. I read those books as a kid.
Just the concept of how far away everything is, makes, and the fact that we're talking light years, which, if you really stop and think about that, the speed of light for a year, that's so goddamn far.
That's so far.
So far. We can't even make it one light year.
No.
You know?
We couldn't even make it a quarter of a light year.
You know what? You should look up how far. I don't have my phone, but you should look up how far is the furthest satellite. I want to say it's Voyager 2.
I believe you are correct. I think it is Voyager
and
2.
I think it might be somewhere around like 750 million miles. I'm winging it there, but I'm wondering if anything that we have ever outputted as a species has ever made it like a light year. I don't think it's possible for this man-made satellite. Yeah. Tracking Amazon.
Deforestation. Okay. Amazon's seasonal secret. NASA Earth Observatory. What the hell did we stumble upon? Norway Fun satellite map. Okay.
Something. Oh, you typed forest man-made satellite. Oh shit. That's why.
Alright, so for this,
you got
did I spell it wrong again?
Images, maybe. Voyager 1, Earth's farthest spacecraft.
Okay, so it is the Voyager 1.
I guess that makes sense because it probably launched quite a bit of time before Voyager 2.
Okay, so Voyager 1, first spacecraft to reach interstellar space in its original, or am I reading that? That's so wrong. Interstellar space. It originally was. Okay, I'm wrong. It originally was launched along with Voyager 2 in 1977 to explore the outer planets. I remember Voyager 2, though, took a different path. That's what, it looped around a couple more planets or something. August 20th was Voyager 2 launch. When was Voyager 1? It does not say.
Damn, dude. The spacecraft officially entered interstellar orbit in August 2012, almost 35 years after its voyage began. That's so crazy, like, and that's what's so sick to me. And if I'm not mistaken, that thing is like still broadcasting information back.
I just saw a report on it that they got a couple of the instruments still working. They have to like shut down ones every year, which sucks because there's like teams that have been working on it for 35 years,
and it takes so long for them to send any information back
to
that
God,
thing. I'm sure, like
probably weeks or something like that. I don't even know. It's got to be at the speed of light, though, right?
Well, I think it'd be a radio wave, so it'd be slower than light, which means it would take longer than the speed of light. So it would take longer than 1 year, depending. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how long or how far away it is.
Okay, Voyager. Okay, yeah. Traveled along a different flight path at different speeds. The Voyager missions were intended to take advantage of the special alignment of the outer planets that happens every 176 years. Allow the spacecraft to slingshot the planets to the next, assisted by the first planet's gravity. The spacecraft's next big encounter will take place in 40,000 years, when Voyager 1 becomes within 1.7 light years of the star AC plus 7938888.
That's one of my favorite stars.
Yeah. I got it memorized by heart. Itself is roughly 17.5 light years from Earth.
Holy shit. So, in 40,000 years, it will be within 1.7 light years. So it'll be within, basically, it'll be 90% of the way there.
Yeah, it'll be 16 some light years away. Or 60 from Earth, basically, at that time.
The Voyager 1, it's going to be almost another, 5,000 years until it goes 1 light year.
Yeah. That's what I want to know is, how many light years are we at right now? It's got to be, point something amount of light years.
Oh, yeah, it's less than that. I mean, it's got to be, 0.000...
Voyager
5 or something like that,
Let's see.
Maybe, Voyager distance from Earth or something. Oh, yeah.
So it's 152.2 AU astronomical units, which is 22.8 billion kilometers, or 14.1 billion miles.
Yikes.
From Earth as the journey. What is that in light years?
That's a good question. There was one of those suggestions asked if it was in light years. Yeah, Voyager 1, distance from Earth, 2020. Yeah.
Light years. 17.6 light years?
Maybe that's Voyager 1 entered. No, that's they.
Oh, that's the.
That Google pulled the wrong little blurb there. How far did Voyager travel in light years?
Is Voyager 1 light year away? So overall, in about 2 light years, 40,000 Earth years. Whoo! So yeah, in about 40,000 years, it makes a light year, I guess.
That thing's going 38,000 miles per hour.
That's insanely fast.
0.00006 the speed of light. Oh my god.
That's insane. And we're already talking about with little boost propulsions and stuff, that we can get to a percentage of light speed.
Hypothetical propulsion systems and stuff.
Well, just from what we already have, we have those ion engines. If you boost the ion engine, even at little propulsions over time, you'll gain enough speed to get up to 7% or something like that of light speed. And so it would make the
that speed would compound over time.
I
wonder if it would are you talking maybe have you seen the solar sails?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's something like that where it gains solar power and then outputs that as
as an energy. So the solar sails using the sun's radiation to bounce those radiation particles off of because there's no atmosphere, and then it just picks up speed over time. But the fusion propulsion systems, like the little ion engines, they've talked about using those ion engines, and the problem is like they can't work to get us into space. They don't have enough thrust. But once we're in space, you just shoot an ion engine, pulsate it a bunch, and then you just start picking speed up as you go. And then you can use planetary assist as well.
Slingshot
yourself and just pick up speed.
Man,
keep picking up speed. The only problem is when you get to those speeds, they talk about, like, it takes you years to slow down. Mm-hmm. You got to go slowly in the other direction.
Theoretically, it would take you the same amount of time to slow down because you are eliminating that same amount of inertia that you created to get that far. So I believe, like, it's one of those halfway through the journey or whatever, you would have to flip the other way and burn into the direction that you're going.
Yeah, that's insane to think. Just so you don't squish your body.
Oh, man.
And just
fucking space, dude.
Fucking gush.
I wish, people say, like, oh, I was born in the wrong era, and it'll be, like, a picture of some guy in, like, the 20s with his shirt off baling hay, and it's like, really? Okay, have fun with that, but
like,
I was born in the wrong era. Like, I wish that I could cruise around on my starship and, like, go to light speed to places and stuff, and who knows, maybe I'll come back in a couple 100 years when I can have a space car, but I'm just bummed that I feel like humanity is so close to that point on the long term, like,
scale,
right, from the time we started to right now, we are so close to getting to space, like full on getting to space. And I'm just like, man, I'm maybe like 50 years too soon, maybe 50 years after I die, like 20, when am I gonna die?
I wouldn't put that upon yourself.
Well, I mean, let's say I live an average of, like, let's say I live 80 years. I'd be cool with that. Maybe, let's say 70, just because of all the SIGs.
Yeah, I feel
70 years, I'm almost 30 right now, so if I've got another 40 in me, that means I'll make it till about 2060. 2060, I feel like there's going to be some high-tech stuff in 2060, which, of course, I'm going to be too old to really appreciate, but the kids those days, they're going to have it good,
Unless they get real good with, like, the gene splicing and shit, and you can just, like, stop aging and go back.
They're, like, cool. getting
real good with that CRISPR shit, man.
And that is some trippy stuff, man.
That fucking... The crazy thing is you can get a CRISPR kit and, like, splice DNA yourself at home.
Yeah.
And fuck around with shit
nuts.
and just, like, learn how to use CRISPR. It's using like an acid to make the slice, and then it fills in that chain with whatever you program it with, and
that's so buck.
It's so gnarly, and that's something we're doing now. It's just like there's ethical standings to what we can do with it.
There's certain states. I want to say maybe California is one of them, but you can, like, choose your child's eye color and, like, hair color, and, like, weird. Yeah, it's insane. My mind's getting blown a lot today.
I saw on a podcast the other day, somebody was like, are they really doing that shit now? I was, like, screaming at the TV. Yes, they've been doing it for, like, 5 years.
Do you remember Dolly, Dolly the goat, or the sheep?
Yeah, I remember when they started doing the, and it was like... It was the weirdest fucking thing.
I'm pretty sure that was, like, early 2000s.
Yeah, I was a kid when Dolly the sheep was, like, straight up cloned, the first cloned sheep. And then...
it's so funny that, like,
now you can clone your dog on the reg.
Damn. I've never even heard of that.
Rich people clone their dogs all the time.
That's so funny.
Paris Hilton. She cloned her dog twice.
So that if the dog dies or something, she's got a backup?
An exact clone.
I wonder if she keeps it, like, in a storage box until the first one dies.
It runs around with her other dogs. It's crazy. I think before Dolly Parton passed, she had cloned her dog.
Dolly Parton passed?
I'm pretty sure.
Did I not know that?
I don't know. Maybe I should look that up.
I feel like I've seen a very new TV show that she's on.
I feel like maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
I hope she didn't, but... Old Dolly Parton. Let's see, she got years active. No, she's alive, man. She's kicking it.
No shit.
She's 74 years old.
She was... Damn. Good for you, Dolly Parton. My apologies.
Yeah, you'd never know looking at her picture.
Dude, but, I mean, I just assumed she was born in 1946.
Damn, son. That's World War II.
Yeah. Damn. My apologies, Dolly Parton. What? There was another
Hey,
famous...
it's almost her birthday, too.
Yeah, there was a famous actress, or, like, country singer. Older lady who passed. I thought it was Dolly. Maybe
It wasn't Reba, was it? Reba McEntire? No.
Did she? No, it was an older country singer lady.
Yeah.
She was real famous back in the day. It was like a heartthrob back in the day, and I can't remember. So, well, thanks YouTube, because I don't have enough subscribers or anything. Therefore, I can't upload podcast to its own podcast channel. You are awesome. We love you, YouTube. You kick ass.
Boo.
Being as cool as you used to be. We love it.
I wonder what the next YouTube is, you know?
Oh, I can't wait for it. I checked because, like, I have premium, right? So, on one account. And then I have, like, a couple of accounts. On the ones without premium, I get, like, all the old stuff I used to get. Just random shit from the internet that just pops up on my feed.
Mm-hmm.
On my premium account, it's very the same shit every single day. Like, the same video, like, it's pushing this one video at you over and over and over. You could refresh it a million times, that one video will stay.
Yeah.
And it's always one different video, and it will be that way for like a week, and then another video pops up.
Yeah, I remember just when, like, there wasn't even, like, a feed, really?
Yeah.
It was, like, back in the day where, you would get on YouTube, and it would just be, like, you just type in what you wanted to look for.
Yeah. And like,
Tourette's
random
guy or
stuff would
something.
just kind of, like, pop up. Like, on my feeds now, if you go to the ones without, like, you'll get random people that you're not subscribed to all over. One of them, it gives me... They talk about how they're trying to get rid of, like, bad talk and shit. There's a whole bunch of, like, Japanese and, like, women with their tits out and fucking, like, upskirt shit. And,
On
like,
YouTube?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's crazy. On my non-premium account, it shows all, like, that's what it shows me to be, like, continue with
Suggested.
YouTube. Yeah, it's the suggested stuff. It's the first thing on the page. It's like a Cambodian girl who's, like, kneeling down, and it shows under the skirt and everything that she's washing and, like, doing dishes and stuff. That's just creeps that are fucking doing that shit, and then they're attacking, like, actual YouTubers
Yeah.
and deplatforming them. They say that they don't allow that stuff on their platform, and yet it's all over that front page. It's insane. It is insane. I'm like, why would anyone watch this? Like, it's not in your language.
Well,
Why is
first
it
of all,
being
like, what?
sent to
Why
me?
is this even here?
Yeah, like, why is it sent to me? Why is it in 14
Why can
different
these
languages?
people upload this shit, but I can't upload a like just two people talking?
Yeah, well, the podcast, it says that I don't have enough length of time. So, like, an hour-long podcast, they're saying that you can only upload 15 minutes with a new YouTube. You have to have a verified YouTube now in order to upload anything longer than 15 minutes. And it used to be you could just upload up to 3 hours worth of whatever.
Yeah.
You also could monetize everything, whatever, didn't matter.
So how do people upload the shit that's like, 24 hours of relaxing music?
They have
Is that a
they've
certain
had their
license or
YouTubes
something?
for a long period of time. So like my premium YouTuber and stuff, if I were to get premium, I guarantee it would verify my account and I could do it. But before the premium, because I had an account for so long, it's verified technically, and so that one account can upload like hour long. That's why I can do streams and stuff on that.
Yeah.
But it's only one account. So, like, if I want to set up, I tried to set up a YouTube specifically for this, to just put all this so people can go and find the video parts and all that stuff right there and make it easy. And YouTube is restricted. It's insane. It's insane. Because it was one thing, and now it's another. And it blows my mind. Because people fell in love with YouTube for what it was.
Yeah.
And then they
The money got
turned it into something else.
the internet became a full on like a corporate
Cash grab.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because back in the day, it was just like you would go on YouTube or like. Do you remember before everyone just automatically like it was assumed to use Google? Like there was like Ask Jeeves, there was Yahoo, there was like all these different search engines. Bing had its time in the spotlight for a little bit.
Before YouTube, there was like eBaum's World and what was the other one? Damn, there was so many of them.
There was also like tons of online games and stuff like
like
Mini
Frog in a
Clip
Blender.
And, like all those game websites, addictinggames.com and like
fucking stickdeath.com. You remember that one?
Yeah.
I fucking love that shit. That was hilarious.
Dude gets his fucking little stick penis shot off at the very end.
We had this so when I was in high school, at a certain point, they kind of caught on to the fact that kids were just playing games and going on the websites and stuff. So there was like a library, like it was a lock on the internet, right? So you couldn't get on those sites. But this kid in my class, he made a whole like VPN and hosted it online. And he would go to his website. I think it was called like trevorstech.com or something. This kid named Trevor. And you go to his website, and then through that browser, you could go to any other website on the school computers.
Oh,
and, like it was like the best kept secret that the kids would use Trevor's VPN, and like just, dude, Trevor, what's up, man? This guy hooked it up for like the whole school.
That's sick. Yeah, we had restrictions on all the PCs at every high school, and I remember I took a lab tech one time. Just to test it out. We were able to like test certain classes if we wanted to try them throughout the middle of the year. They let you, at least I did, and I think it maybe it's because I was homeschooled. So they're like, how many classes can we get him into? But everybody in there knew how to hack that specific fucking block. Like there was a couple of key codes to unblock it.
Yeah.
And one person figured it out, showed it to another person, and all the kids were smart enough to keep it quiet from the fucking teachers, and they would all be playing fucking games the entire class. I was like the only one because I was sucked at computers. It was like I'm barely knowing how to turn it on. The kid next to me, he's like, just here, I'll get you set up and you can fucking play some solitaire stuff. Nice. I was like, dope.
Do you remember Microsoft Pinball? I spent so long as a kid because like I loved video games as a kid. I've always been really big into video games, and as a kid, sometimes I would get grounded from the GameCube or from Nintendo or from the Xbox or whatever it was that I was playing on all the time.
Go to PC.
And so I would just, all right, I'll log onto my computer. That like I remember how I told you I went through that class as a kid, the building a computer class.
Oh yeah.
And I got to keep that computer, so that was in my room. And my parents thought that just because it's not on the internet, like basically they thought it's just a useless thing. But like I would just play on Paint for hours, dude. I used to draw the craziest shit on Paint. Like I would draw logos of stuff, like company, like I'd look at like a Mountain Dew can and try to make it on Paint. And so I would spend like hours doing that, or I would play Solitaire, Spider Solitaire, or like Microsoft Pinball. Try to get so far through that game.
Dude, yeah, the pinball one was sick. Only one of our PCs had it though. It was like the nicer one. It was also my mom's work computer, and I somehow ended up fucking it up, and that was the end of computers for me until I bought my first laptop at 21. And I learned how to use computers. I pretty much I planned on never learning computers or technology when I was a kid. I was like, I'm just going to be fucking stone and chisel. I'm going to be a caveman. Never learn it. Didn't realize it was going to be important.
Oh, yeah.
And then at 21, I was like, fuck, it's going to be important. I'm going to have to figure this shit out. Bought a laptop. My grandma still uses that laptop to this day.
Nice.
Pretty good little Toshiba.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of that older technology just lasts so much longer.
So long.
I think a lot of it is because it's not so streamlined and like good looking, It's all just big, chunky because the hardware was so big at that time, like the chips and the processors and stuff. They weren't these little like half-inch by half-inch, things on a circuit board. They were some
full on like
you could see that shit.
Yeah.
So I think, and not to mention the batteries were massive.
Yeah.
Remember, like most laptops had like the detachable battery that was like a unit that like slid onto the whole thing, and like it was a nightmare back then. But I think that the fact that it was too new to really finesse the looks of it stuff. Like you look at like a brand new MacBook.
Oh yeah.
And it's so small and thin and sleek and stuff. And like that's all cool, but I think that's a result of the couple decades now of like refining the laptop, whereas back then it's this new thing. We just want to get all this stuff into a mobile box so we can sell it because we now have the ability to do this, you know.
Yeah,
so they were just cranking them out there, these big chunky plastic things,
and they're fucking tanks.
They're tanks, absolutely.
The military guys typically use like the old '80s Asus laptops and shit because they're like they can fucking block a bullet.
Yeah,
like the things are thicker than Snickers and just
screw them into a laptop briefcase.
Yeah,
and, like,
they're just insane. Even the hardware setups for like most medical stuff is real chunky, hardcore plastic stuff. Like it's real thick. At least the stuff like when I was working at I guess I shouldn't name the company, but making X-ray machines, they do a lot of this, and ultrasound machines, they do a lot of military ones, and so they're in the field, in hand, and I mean those things are, you could fucking smash it across the wall, and you'll kill somebody with it. Like it's just a heavy chunk.
Oh yeah,
it's got metal rails and shit on the side. It's just so it can take a bullet and just keep working.
Yeah, or bang around in the back of that Humvee when an IUD goes off, you know.
Exactly.
But
exactly, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
have you ever seen that? There's this YouTube channel. I've come to realize that we get suggested a lot of the same stuff, and I think it's because we look up probably a lot of the same stuff. But there's this YouTube channel that keeps popping up that's these soldiers talking in VR. Like, essentially, they're all in this VR world. Like, one of them's like Winnie the Pooh, and another guy's Spider-Man, and like they're just kind of in this goofy kind of like fantasy world. And they're all in VR, like, so they're kind of using their hands and talking with their hands, and like, so it's a lot more expressive than just like, you know, hearing someone talk. You can really kind of see the emotion with their hand movements and stuff. Well, these guys, they're in this kind of like fantasy land, and I think somewhat it is like a way for them. It's almost like escapism in a sense. Like they feel like they're kind of outside of the real world. Because if you've ever been in VR, like, it's pretty trippy, like, you know, the fact that you can look in any direction and you're inside of this environment.
Never done VR.
It's pretty interesting. It's a crazy feeling, but I think that they tend to share a lot more because they kind of can escape in that way.
Yeah,
and they can be some funny little goofy character, and they're looking around at these, you know, giant oversized flowers and goofy stuff going on. And anyway, they talk about like a lot of their trauma and like their worst day as a soldier, and like the day that they had to make a decision that got people killed, and like they talk about all their kind of the stuff that impacted them. And from what I gather, a lot of them, when they're talking about it, it's kind of one of the first times they're really like opening up, and you know, there's a lot of like emotion in it and stuff. But it's really cool that they're using that technology in that way, you know, to like to help people feel comfortable enough to get those things off their chest that are, you know, in my opinion, it's really important to share that kind of trauma and that kind of,
for sure,
you know, stuff that's happened to you mentally. It's like extremely important.
So that's like the most important thing that they tell you when you, like, anybody I know that's come back from war and had PTSD, like the first thing they tell them is get to somewhere you feel comfortable enough to express and like open up about everything that you can open up.
And I'm sure, I'm sure nowadays, like, there's a lot of counseling that's offered to them and made available to them should they feel that, you know, they need to seek it. And I'm sure that there's certain counseling that's like, actually required. Like, if you come back and you have like combat kills, there might be like,
guaranteed,
you know,
you have to do a certain
right. Which, and like,
until you're clear.
That's good. I think that is going to help. I mean, you saw after like Vietnam, when so many soldiers came back and were just riddled with like PTSD and just went back into society and were these really like damaged people that caused a lot of hardships and problem for not only themselves but for other people, and not to any fault of their own necessarily, but like when that stuff's not made available for people that go through like incredibly crazy life and death situations, like that's not normal for us to experience.
We didn't know,
you know,
about like PTSD at the time. They called it shell shock.
Right,
like, guys would get shell shock,
and it was just like pussy shock. You know, shake it off, get back out there. Oh yeah,
rub some dirt on it, and you'll be all right. And the guys, when they came home as well, especially with Vietnam, like they were called baby killers, spit on by the people that they were protecting, and so. Like that on top of like you did some shit that you don't want to talk about with anybody that you morally might have issues with, and then at the same time, people are telling you you're morally fucking inferior and you're morally wrong. That's gonna fuck people up.
Yeah, it was just a horrible mix of circumstances for a lot of
and
those
then
people.
No help.
And then, right, having
like,
no support to be at least offered, like at least like, hey, let it be known that we're here and we're available. And I would hope that that's something that is emphasized in the military today.
Oh.
I know it's got to be hard to get around that stigma of like big tough guys, you know, like.
Oh, for
and
sure.
I get it. Like you got to
is-
feel like a fucking badass out there. Like that's part of survival.
Yeah, you need to feel like you can kill.
Right, but I think it's important that everyone acknowledges like there's a time and place for that, and there's a time and place where that's necessary to perform your duties that you swore to your country, whichever one they might be. But yeah, I think it's really important that that's at least made aware to them, you know.
Well, and the thing is like, from when I was in ROTC, there was like no counseling when people were getting in and out. Now, with all of my friends that have been through the Marine Corps and in the Navy, some of them have gotten out a couple years ago, and there were no like counseling meetings or any of that kind of stuff to like clear them as they go out. Some people I know now, even in the Army, they're making them do a bunch of like, you know, psychological tests, make sure that you're good, make sure that they aren't, you know, have PTSD. They're getting a lot more medical help than ever before, which is really good, because they just didn't before. We had the VA, and the VA was like run like shit for so long. Everybody I knew had problems with the VA. People weren't getting there.
It doesn't have a great reputation, and I say that as someone that I have a couple military family members, but not ones that I'm really close enough with to know their situation, you know.
Yeah.
But I've heard some things about the VA.
Yeah, they end up fucking people over big time. Well, for most of the people I know, like they've gotten screwed over. I know one person who's had a good experience with the VA, and I mean they were a lifer. They spent most of their life in the military, so I think that might have something to do with it. I don't know. But the guys that like spend their 4 years, they typically get kind of just swept under the rug. And it's like, well, you still served, you still did your time, and you deserve what you worked for. You earned all the medical assistance that's needed. It's insane.
I knew of someone who was a very high up in the military, like captain of an aircraft carrier, like big time.
Yeah.
Big man on campus, and he retired. He was a lifer as well, retired, and got his identity stolen, had his identity stolen, and lost everything. And it took about 10 years. He I believe he moved to like Taiwan or something like that because he barely had any money at that point. Like everything got wiped out, so he had to move somewhere like super cheap.
Yeah.
And I think that he had maybe his wife lived there or something like that. But basically, he got stripped of everything. He lost all of his stuff, and it was just hell with, you know, trying to get recognized. Essentially, it took them far too long to say, hey, you served this country for your entire working career. You did all the, you know, X, Y, and Z. You had all these different medals. You know what? We can afford to help you out as someone that has done so much in your role, you know? And so eventually he got, you know...
But you gotta wait 10 years of your
right,
life and
right.
fight. Like, that's
and fight
insane.
like hell,
Yeah.
and feel so betrayed by the people that you
fought
thought
for.
You're right.
That's fucking insane.
Which sucks, and of course it's great that it ended well, but with that kind of long-term thing, it's not just like all's well that ends
and
well.
how many
like, this
people that don't have that same mentality to keep going after 10 years that just give up?
Mm-hmm.
How many of those guys are out there? How many of those guys are just
or don't have like
off of the radar,
the resources or anything, or just like
just
completely fucked?
They didn't have the family. They couldn't go to a Taiwan. They didn't have ID. They didn't, you know, everything was completely gone. Now they're a guy on the street corner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem with like the drug epidemic thing, is like it's hard to tell now between the two, like unless there's an age difference. But then you still have older guys out there that will wear like Navy hats because they're easy to get around here.
Yeah,
and never
stolen valor.
Yeah, never served a day in their life.
Dude, I learned that sort of, you know, I learned my lesson on that. giving money to someone and then failing to realize that it was not. They were not actually someone that served. You know, and it's just like it's just kind of a scummy thing to do.
It's so fucked up. To me, it's like it's like stealing from a church. It's like it's easy. It's easy to do, but there's like a certain morality.
Little extra bad.
Yeah, there's a little morality thing. Like
I'm
a bad guy,
grabbing
but I'm
a Kit Kat
not
from
that
7-Eleven. You know.
Yeah, to me, it's almost like fucking child molestation. Like you're taking advantage of an innocence situation.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
People that are trying to be innocent and helpful in one way, and then you're taking advantage of it.
Yeah, it's like it's double bad.
Yeah, it's fucking double negative. And
Not to mention the fact that you know that you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes it all the more negative.
It's just fucked. And there are people out there that wouldn't even think twice. And not even a blink in there. I was watching the Ice Pick Killer. The Iceman
Richard
Killer.
Kuklinski, right? Is that his name?
I think
something
so.
Kuklinski.
Yeah, he was like a normal guy that just like did hits, killed over 100 and some people.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I don't feel about it at all.
And he just go home to his wife and kids. And
he's like, that's where I
apparently he lived like a completely normal life for a long time.
No one knew for like 35 years.
He was the one that would freeze bodies and then let them out at a later date to confuse like the whole time of death thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I've chopped up bodies. They used to have like a little freezer place butchering thing. And he worked
I think they had like the people he was working for had like a certain apartment or something that had a whole basically fucking body processing factory inside of this apartment or something.
He's like, it was messy.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. He's just cold faced. They're like, so how did you feel about killing that person? He's like, I didn't.
Oh man.
Damn. All right. Cool. You crazy, dog. He's like, I killed every one of my friends. The only one I didn't kill got me locked up.
Yeah. That's insane. I think I remember that quote. Man. Well, hopefully,
hopefully things get better.
I'm never murdered by the Iceman.
Yeah, he's
make it to a point where I can get blasted off into space for the ultimate humanity treasure hunt.
That would be so fucking insane.
And maybe it would bring the world together. Maybe everyone could stop and smile when they saw the flames coming from behind the re-entry craft with my lifeless and yet somehow full of all the life in the universe
body,
my corpse
just flying into another planet.
Maybe I'll make a one rule is like, you gotta tow me back. Like, I can't ride inside, you gotta tow me back. Figure it out.
You gotta tow me back. Oh, dude, that would...
If you can engineer all that, it's yours.
Oh, straight up. And then you're gonna make the fucking world a better place.
I would hope so.
That would be so fucking sick. Alright, people. Well, we're gonna get out of here. He's got some stuff to get done.
Yes, sir.
So, you people have a great day. Stay classy. And, everybody calm down.
Yeah, let's calm down. Okay, it's alright.
Just take a breath, take a hit.
It's okay.
Yeah. Alright. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.